caves. This analogy is a reference to the Negroid releasing the red Indian from the clutches of the European colonialism. We know that birds do not live in caves. The cave is a reference to the mountains of Europe, the Caucasus Mountains. And as far as blacks in Asia today, many Africans and Chinese mixed and moved far north into Tibet, where they become known as nomads and live a very similar life to the Africans in Kenya. The Dravidian speakers originally came from Nubia. They were related to the Sea Group people. The Shang culture was founded by the Kushites, thus the name Yi, meaning great bowman, thus corresponding to Stu, the name for the founders of the Tatseti, the first monarchy in history. The Yi seem to have lived in both North and South China. Fu Sut Nin in Yi His Tunga Shao makes it clear that the Shang culture bearer remained allied to the rest of the Yi people who lived in southern China. The founders of Jia are usually referred to as Yue as opposed to Yi. It would appear that most of Yi were Dravidian speakers, while Yue were Manding speakers. The first Shang king of Zhuan Wang, meaning black king. Zhuan means black. He was called Zhuan Di, meaning black emperor. The founder of the Shang dynasty was called Zhuan Nao, meaning black bird. Another Shang king was called Zhuan Mu, meaning black oxen. And the list goes on and on and on and on. Previously I mentioned that the Olmecs and the Chinese combined to produce the red Indian, and I will delve deeper into that right now. In the 4th century, a Chinese missionary under the Shang dynasty named Ho Xian, or Hu Xian, came to America in search of his people, who were the East Yi, meaning the black Chinese. When the Chinese arrived, they encountered the Olmecs, who had already been living on the land. The Chinese considered the black Olmecs as the descendants of the black Chinese, Yi people. Hu Xian's people settled and mixed in with the Olmecs and produced the Aboriginal. The Olmecs gave the lower kingdom to the Aborigines. The Aborigines called the land Mujian, which is a combination of the Olmecan Ashuric Aramaic word Mu, which means one, and the Chinese word Zhan, named after Hu Shan. Did you know that there was a province in China today called Zhan, and that this is the site of one of the only Chinese pyramids? Muzhan became Mijan and eventually became Mekjan, or Mexico. The Aborigines called themselves Mexicans, and they remixed with the Olmecs, which resulted in a sub-tribe called the Hopi. The Hopi clan was taught the religion of the Dogon and given the secret of the stars. Several hundred years later, the Hindu East Indians arrived in Mexico, and they bred with the Mexicans and produced Mongoloid tribe types like the Inuit and Eskimo, who migrated far north into Canada and Alaska. Out of the Mexican also came the Aztec, Inca, Toltec, Mixtec, and the Mayans, which were the 5 barbarian nations. The Mayans rejected their Olmec ancestry and gravitated towards their Chinese ancestry. The Mayans began practicing human sacrifices and cannibalism. The Mayans were banished by the original Olmecs and were told to leave or be destroyed. The Mayan relocated and sailed east to Asia and mixed in the Mongols of Southeast Asia and became known as Angkor. Today, the Angkors no longer go by that ancient name. Their modern day name is Cambodian. Yes, the Cambodians are really the Native Americans that were banished. This is why the ruins in ancient Cambodia are identical to the ruins of the Mayan Empire. History claims that the Mayan civilization just vanished. The word Mayan means illusions because it seems as if they disappeared overnight. The Mayans didn't just disappear. An entire ethnic group just simply vanished overnight. They simply packed up and moved to the other side of the planet. And you might be wondering, am I saying that the Red Indian is an aborigine? Well, the Red Indian is a result of mixing between Olmecs and Chinese. This is why you have some Native Americans with dark skin and Negroid features, and some with light skin and Mongoloid features. Olmecs were indigenous Americans. Chinese were immigrants. Mexicans are aborigines who were the combination of Olmecs and Chinese. The East Indians that came here were also immigrants. As for the tribes of North America, the tribes of North America were a result of Olmec and Mexicans. However, some of the Mexicans continued to mix with the Chinese and produced yellow tribes like Pueblo and Manso. The yellow tribes mixed in with each other and produced tribes like the Chinook, Tutuni, Kalupaya, Chumash, Oinut, and others. Tribes broke off from each other and produced even more tribes that settled in California. The darker-skinned tribes were the tribes that managed to contain much of the Olmec blood, like the Arapaho, Arikara, the Blackfoot, Cheyenne, Crow, Apache, Mandan, the Pawnee, and the Shoshone. In the 15th century, all of this changed. The Europeans arrived for the first time, the Spaniards, French, British, Italians, and Portuguese. The Europeans mixed in with all of the tribes, black, red, and yellow, and they produced even more stocks. Today you will find white Native American tribes. The tribes that did not wish to mix with the Europeans were destroyed. The Incans were destroyed by the Spanish, who stole their culture and are now calling themselves Hispanic, which is a term that was popularized and some say even coined by Ronald Reagan. As far as the darker tribes or the black tribes, the Olmecs migrated into two directions. One group of the Olmecs migrated into the eastern islands near the Bermuda Triangle and settled in the islands of Jamaica, Haiti, the Bahamas, Trinidad, and Barbados. The Olmecs set up colonies on these islands and became known as the Arawaks. These were the people Christopher Columbus encountered. The Spanish and the British mixed in with the Arawaks. The Olmecs of Haiti went back to their African roots and began practicing their religion called Yoruba, which is mistakenly called Voodoo. The Arawaks mixed in with the Portuguese and produced a tribe of half Negroid, half Latin called Taino. The Taino were invaded by another tribe called the Caribs, who were sadistic cannibalists. The Caribs migrated to an island known as the Caribbean. The other group of Olmecs traveled north and settled in Southeast America and became known as the Washoe, which means raccoon people. These people settled into areas of Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Georgia. The Washoe mixed with the Malian Moors of Africa who also came over. The result of this mixing was a tribe of pure-blooded black Native Americans called Yamasee or Yamasee. The Yamasee resided in Georgia and were the mother tribe of all dark southeastern and eastern tribes. Yamasee is a direct descendant of the Olmecs through the Washita Moors. The Washita is a derivative of the term Wichita, who are known as Kit-Kittish, which means raccoon eyes, which refer to the black Native Americans because of their faces, thus the term coon.